Welcome back to the DreamHack Open 2020. We are one map into the tournament, and so far it's gone exactly as we expected to, as tournament frontrunners Spirit took down young flowskola 16-2 on Mirage, and this was the Swedes map pick. And Vu, you had been doing your homework on these boys and their T side. Was it what you expected?
I expected them to not do very well, and Spirit definitely showed that. I expected a little bit more. They were a little bit less coordinated than I expected, maybe because, you know, they are playing with a stand-in, I believe. But unfortunate, only 2 rounds. I expected maybe 7 or 8, something like that.
Were there any bright spots, though, for you, Blair? Because for me, Misfire, when he was on fire, he had those 2 beautiful headshots with the dig in connector, but then wasn't really able to do much with it afterwards. So there's some raw skill there. There just doesn't seem to be a kind of an awareness of other parts of the game.
Maybe around. I think the bright spot here is the Spirit are doing a couple of these players a favor by, you know, making this game very quick. They can head back to school as well. They don't have to miss any classes, so that's a good thing. But all toxicity aside, Frankie, I really want to say good stuff about these guys, but I haven't seen anything yet. They're playing with a very different opposition altogether. Spirit are definitely a better caliber of teams compared to what they've played in the qualifier for this event. For Spirit, though, I do want to touch upon, they gave a bit of respect to flowskola initially. They weren't just playing too loosey-goosey, and that was good to see. They're kind of using this game as kind of like a practice matchup for not just this event, but for the DreamHack Masters coming up next week.
I want to talk about Idis Balance. He had a whale of a time on that one. It was basically deathmatch for him. Although there were points, Vu, where actually he went for the pick and he almost like presented himself to Joel, who was AWPing on the opposite side for flowskola, and just gave him the kills. Is that something we'd expect to see from him?
Well, when you look at the first, 7, 8 rounds, I think he was playing a little bit more measured, but typical, what you heard from Smooya when he left NA, they're just not throwing flashes. So he started getting a little bit more aggressive around that time, and he did present himself to Joel rather, but I don't think it really was too consequential. And if they weren't 9-0 up at some point, probably would have played a little bit more safe.
Well, let's talk about Nuke, because there's not really that much to say about Mirage. Again, you have seen flowskola play Nuke, Vu, and we were having a chat earlier, and I was saying I was very surprised to see that flowskola, they tend to pick Dust too, but they also pick Nuke. And for a team that barely has time to practice together because, they've got commitments like homework, Nuke seems like a really unusual map. And I know Spirit picked this one, but hey, there's a veto in process. They could have got rid of this map, and they didn't.
I have a feeling that perhaps Spirit saw the games that flowskola played on Nuke and said, we can beat that, because I watched the game they played against Real Betis, and they had a pretty weak CT side. They won quite a few more rounds on T side than they did on CT, and they just rushed out upper a large number of times. They had a player running out hut something like 4 or 5 rounds in a row. And, that might work against some teams, but I really struggle to see that working against Spirit, despite their kind of low win percentage on Nuke. They should be able to deal with that type of kind of trivial, just run out and frag out play.
Blair, what do you want to see from flowskola in this match?
I don't know, honestly. I want them to be just, it's Nuke, right? It's kind of like a gift coming in from Spirit. Like, yeah, play your game, let's see what you got. I want to mix things up a little bit, considering Spirit picked us, and Vu mentioned they would have watched their demos, at least won a couple of their matches, and they probably have an inkling what they like doing the T side. So maybe mix it up a little bit, be a little bit more surprising, kind of throw a curveball over there, and try and maybe get 8-9 rounds. I feel that'll be a win against Team Spirit here.
Well, we're going to head to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have Vince and some bloke called Tom Beers. They're going to be casting things as they go to Nuke.
The first map Well, listen, if you were 5 minutes late, you probably missed it. It was over real quick, and we're hoping it's going to be a whole lot closer. And Tom beautifully painted the picture. Before a great story of the underdog making a comeback, they have to get knocked down first, Tom. They've definitely been knocked down. Can they pull it back, though? Nuke is a map that the desk felt was a bit of an odd pick for Spirit. Where do you come down on this?
I'll be honest, I think for Spirit, like, this is a map that they've played a lot. Sure, they don't necessarily have the best results and some losses. Again, I mentioned Amiga earlier. It's one that they've lost to them. But then you consider some of the other opponents they've faced. Like, they lost twice to Na'Vi in close fashion. So it's not by any stretch a weak map for them. In fact, it was one of their strongest going back a few months. And I think they want to get it back into the pool. To make comparisons with this match, though, I would compare this to me trying to fight Mike Tyson. Like, it's probably not going to go down well. And yeah, I think the younger person in this situation is going to end up getting hurt.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially if you see Mike Tyson's recent training footage. The guy is still
I don't want to be that punching bag. I don't want to be that punching bag.
No.
I'd die. I'd just straight out there.
Most people would. Most people would, Tom. There's definitely nothing to be ashamed of with that one. flowskola have already lost 2 lives as well. It's Misfire and Joel that have been picked off early on. Nilo, though, will get the drop for this USP, but it's only good for 1. Can at least break away some of that attention towards Heaven, but now the Heaven players missed a couple of shots in the form of Magi. He will be contested, does come out passing with flying colors, and flowskola, successful retake, a 3v5 on top of it.
There we go. That was pretty nice. Like, a few tasty shots here, a confidence booster as well. I was going to actually say, just before they managed to pull that off, that I would have almost liked to see them start on the T side, because I think that's going to be the terrifying prospect of if Spirit get off to a good start. But hey, in reality, they managed to bring this one back. I'm sure a few cheers will be had. And realistically, I think they've gone into this knowing that this is the match they probably won't win. Like, maybe some of the other teams in the tournament, especially going into the lower bracket match in this group, I think they have much more of a chance. So if they can even make this one look decent, get relatively close, that would be something. Of course, there is going to be a straight investment. A bomb plant in Counter-Strike nowadays, especially if you're on the... Well, you have to be on the T side. What am I doing? First day. Let's just write that off. But yeah, a bomb plant nowadays basically gives you a buy. So going into this round, Team Spirit is still going to put the pressure on, and they can't let this one slip away. If anything, this could put them in an even worse position than they would have been if they'd managed to... Well, not managed to make the retake happen.
Absolutely. I feel like winning and then losing on the CT side is a death sentence. It's so brutal. Joel gets 2 with his AUG, but some die young. Does come back with one of his own. HP certainly in favor of the Swedes, though. Mia has been chopped down to size, and some die young's lost a quarter of his hit points. So flowskola in pretty good shape. This is where the MP9s look that little bit more deadly, a little bit more dangerous. But outside control has been forfeit. And Team Spirit trying to make the most of it now.
The only problem is they only had rifles outside. So that's something free for Chopper. And he's not someone you really need to be giving over an extra rifle to. 35 seconds as they are going to make their way towards the ramp. Now, Chawsy's actually in a really good position. If he stays perfectly still, he probably wins this round for his team. I don't think they're going to be expecting anybody to be behind this box. That's 1 kill. The second player, as you mentioned, slightly more tagged, and they're starting to run out of time. A free AUG for Chawsy as well. And this is done. 15 seconds, Mir on 25 HP. No bomb, no chance.
Not much HP either. He has been put down ahead of time, so at least doesn't get completely screwed in that respect. But Spirit have lost the first 2 rounds. This is a great start for flowskola. It's going to build up that confidence. You know, a young team, underdogs, not necessarily expecting to conquer the world as of yet. These are the kind of starts that really can build into something beautiful. Spirit, though, they're tenured. They've been here before, Tom, many times. They should be okay. They just dip out of this round, just get some deagles, still a threat. Still definitely possible to take some of these heads off, but by and large, it should be the 3-0 kicking into shape.
Yeah, they've still got to be very careful in this round, like, especially CIS teams with deagles. Like, I'm pretty sure they're born with a deagle in hand, so be careful. It's all I'm trying to say. Magix has already managed to take down 1. Again, that's Joel's AUG dropped outside for potentially someone to retrieve, although for Spirit, that might not be a problem. Somehow Chopper's also managed to get all the way down the vent and is just patiently waiting. So if the remaining players somehow manage to cross outside, I'd be impressed. They're just waiting for the fights, but Misfire will be able to pick off one, rectifying the situation a little bit. And Chopper's just decided, okay, nobody's coming to get me. I might as well go on a hunt, start looking around and try and get another kill or two.
Yeah, create some chaos. Try and divide the Swedes. Misfire again connecting the dots. Not the headshot though onto Mia, so drops him to 59. But it's information without any smokes or flashes to bypass most of these threats. Spirit's position is very well known to the entirety of flowskola. To make matters worse now, on Spirit they have Chauzy and Misfire in position to deal some fatal damage, but to be fair to Spirit, with just Eagles, they've made this round costly. They take down 3 players. That's going to force some replenished guns, and now they can go in for a buy. So yes, flowskola get the 3-0, but it wasn't as clear as they were hoping for.
Yeah, and with the investment they have here going back in for the AWP, they're basically going to have no money. So although it's been a very good start for them, you don't want to sit here and basically just lose straight back and have everything that you've been working for over the last few rounds end up as nothing. Now, iDisbalance is one of the few players that is still like gunning with that SG. I don't think he likes anything that doesn't have a scope, so be wary of him, because he can definitely do a lot of damage on the T sides for Team Spirit, and you will see this weapon come out regularly. Like, this isn't just a cheese strat. This isn't something he's doing just because he's playing against a team of unknowns. This is his norm when it comes to the T side.
Yeah, and the SG absolutely has a place outside. It's kind of that mid to long range where the SG really does shine. So certainly expect to see more of this. If he can get his hands on the AWP, of course, it's a significant increase in threat level. Magi using that smoke, though. They must have a good idea as to Spirit's current position. The wall of smokes was deployed and wasn't able to get that sledgehammer and knock it down for the CTs. Now Some Die Young waits behind the smoke, anticipating they could try and wrap around the back of the oncoming Ts. And so far, they haven't really met any resistance downstairs. 50 seconds to play with. Some Die Young still waiting and will get the rewards onto Mistfire. That is going to be a costly loss for flowskola. They need to somehow battle back.
Yeah, they needed that kill. They couldn't leave Some Die Young just holding on to rotations. Joel, he's been given one hell of an angle. That smoke has not landed anywhere near where it's supposed to, but even still, iDisbalance. Well, I don't really know how, but he managed to get away with that kill. Just a leg shot connected, and oh man, finds himself in an awkward position. But this is what he does. That SG is just filled 2 headshots in a matter of seconds, and now Chauzy, he's left in a position to try and clutch things out once again. He managed to do it in the last round, has a kit available to him. The Incendiary goes into the previous spot of iDisbalance, but iDisbalance actually just throws himself into the blender. It's a stick, trying to hold on, but he's been baited off the bomb, and Chopper, just playing the time, eventually kills off his prey. It's a close round. And unfortunately for them, it goes in the favor of Team Spirit and puts their money in the dirt.
Yeah, this is where those 3 kills from the last round does catch up with flowskola on the Deagles. iDisbalance again, as you highlighted. Beautiful work with the SG. And they're actually going for a force, Tom, and this force is brutal. MP9 and pistols. Now, we saw that Mistfire has some serious chops when it comes to the Deagle. But does the rest of his team? Because someone's going to need to stand tall if they pull off this round.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where there's no good opportunity. Okay, they do. They push all the way into the lobby, find 2 kills off Magi as well. And they managed to retrieve at least one of the AKs. Lots of utility being expended. That one goes straight into a smoke, so it won't be kept for long. The thing is, can they keep up this sort of momentum? Because now they've been spotted. Joel is going to try and take a peek up from Secret instead. Lots of utility now being expended by the T side. And actually, Chopper's managed to thread the needle through. This could be a problem. If you give this man too much space, well, he'll punish you.
Oh, flowskola felt that firsthand on Mirage time and time again. It was him and Mia that kept getting around the back of the CTs and the Ts. Didn't really matter which side they were on. Now they have to contend with Heaven. Mistfire knows it. They have a decent crossfire, but one of these 2 weapons is the MP9. And at that longer range from Catwalk could be susceptible to getting perforated. Which of the players about to become riddled with bullets? Idis Balance goes in first, flashbang in hand, 30 seconds. They need an entry, and they've got it. Do they expect a second player here? Yes, they do. And the 2 entries back-to-back opens up business on A. Nilo now needs to walk over the ruins of what was once theirs with a Galil. And the bomb is being planted the other side of the silo. He can't even deny it. Now he's in an awkward position, opens up with a Galil, gets 1, and Joel comes through with a second. Idis Balance has been tagged and fragged down from Nilo. It's another clutch. It's another 2v3, and flowskola get it done.
Yeah, they're managing to make these work. I will say that it seems like some of Spirit's crossfires that we've had so far have seemed to leave gaps every single time. Like somehow the double entry comes in a matter of seconds. And yeah, definitely a bit of a slip up from them. But hey, can't take anything away from the young Swedes. Like, this was ridiculous. Not only to correct his aim after looking elsewhere, but also just to manage to retrieve those weapons and not go overboard. Like, you have to look at what they did after that. Sure, it didn't work, but they went straight back into a crossfire setup, used the rifle at range, have the SMG up close, and just tried to play it smart. They're not going overly aggressive, as we could say for Spirit right now.
Oh, they're going all-out aggression. Straight up, in the face, unrelenting. flowskola can do little, but just back out and look to already save. They're already tracing 2 players back towards the CT spawn. You look at their economy, between the 3 of them alive, no one over $1,000. So they have to pull the plug, and Spirit's hyper-aggressive, ruthless aggression mentality has proved too hot to handle. They will pick up a second, and now the only question remaining that we need answered is, can flowskola save a weapon? The economy for Spirit's not great either. Have a look at their funds. A couple players on the $0, $250 mark here, Tom. So I think both teams will be happy to just call it there. Spirit will get their second, but flowskola save 3.
Yeah, and this is always going to be the thing when playing a team like Team Spirit. It's going to be very, very difficult to not only catch them off guard, because they've been playing in the CIS for the last few years, like going through, of course, all the RMR events. Like, to do anything more wild than a team like Namiga, I would not only be worried for what is going on in your head that you've managed to think something like that up, but also just sort of sit there and question, like, okay, if that's the plan, like, how many pages through your plan are you that you've managed to get to that? So they're going to go back to this once again. I like the fact that Spirit are now just saying, okay, they couldn't stop us last time. Let's just try and continue to brute force this, but misfire out of absolutely nowhere. Just got 3-4 kills with the MP9. Fool me once, they say. It's not going to happen a second time. He almost gets the ace and assist on the final kill. I'm impressed with this man so far, and we've been speaking about how young some of the players are. Well, he's the slightly more experienced one, and it seems like it's showing.
Seems to be the player that you want to try and back as much as possible to get in amongst the frenzy. Like, he seems to have this clarity in chaos. You know, you see it time and time again. Those double deagle frags that we saw on Catwalk on Mirage didn't get flustered, didn't panic, held his resolve. And there'll be players that you have to look to for flowskola. If they can continue to put these rounds back to back on the T side, he'd get really aggressive as well. He didn't really have a weak half, even though flowskola got battered 16-2. And in the meanwhile, in all of the chaos, the communications may be running a little bit dry. Magi pulls out a Molotov at the worst possible moment, and the trade's now going in favor of Spirit. Shorzy tries to get round the back of the T's, but he walks into the trap of some die young. And just as quick as Misfire held it down on A, they concede again, and their economy's in tatters.
Vince, have you ever played Deathmatch on Nuke?
I have.
Because it's not fun, and that's what that was. Like, we just saw, like, even I felt bad for our observers there, because you could just see them constantly going, nope, stop dying. Every time I switch, someone dies. It's a horrible scenario. And that was, yeah, crazy aggression, Chopper running through smoke, players then pushing outside and continue. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of skill when it comes to this roster. And they are just fighting everything. Nilo wants to peek. Magi now takes a peek outside. This is one of the most mental games of Nuke I think I've ever witnessed. Mir's somehow all the way behind them. I genuinely feel bad for our reserves in this game. It might as well just be like set up a randomizer so that it just picks a different key for every few seconds and just hopefully it lands on the right player.
I do love as well, though, that Spirit are like, okay, yeah, you want to go in the trenches? We'll fight in the trenches. we don't care. We'll happily get chaotic. We'll get crazy.
No gloves?
Yeah, exactly. No gloves at all. Just use headbutts. Let's go.
Yeah, I appreciate the attempt, but this is one of the last teams in the entirety of Counter-Strike I would try this against. Because as I said, there isn't a weak link in the fragging department. Like, even if you go back to like Vega Squadron, Chopper was an absolute monster. The only time that you see him now sort of fall off a little bit is because he is also in game leading for the side. And I imagine trying to control this squad is not easy. I mean, he's still going to go for some entry frags here. Of course, facing up against the flat eco might be a chance to pad the stats a little bit. And the rest of the team, in the meantime, have already gained complete ramp control, run all the way around the back. And Mir, okay, get wrecked. That's what you're the eco hunter. I see you, Mir. You wanted to pad those stats, and that's what you get.
No, that's definitely it. Sometimes you have to temper this aggression. Like, it actually can cost you pretty dearly. And at this point, flowskola would do well to just save these 2 rifles. You got 2 AKs. Yeah. This is going to really bolster that buy up nicely. Just hold on to them. Just hold that nerve. I mean, sure, you're going to go 5-5 behind, but considering how poorly the first map went, this is a notable improvement. Play to your own strengths. Don't fall into the trap of Spirit. If they want to get dirty and up close and personal, like that's all well and good. Punish them if they go aggressive like that. If they show you no respect, make sure they think twice last time around. We saw there as well with that fast A hit, Tom. They went one, they got it successful. They went again, they got battered. They learned from that mistake. Chauzy nearly whiffed the opportunity. He is the player without the rifle, so it made sense for him to go in with just the deagle. And he's done a little bit more damage.
Yeah, these rounds definitely haven't been clean. The problem is again, it sort of falls back to what we've spoken about with Spirit so far, is that they're not really using any of their strats. Like, sure, you'll see them use like the basic smokes outside, maybe go for an execution every once in a while. But the last few rounds in particular, that round started with Chopper trying to brawl the whole team. Like, the big Donnie trying to take on 5 guys at once. Didn't work, and then Mir went, well, you can do it, mate, but I'm going to try and do exactly the same thing. So I don't think they're taking this at the height of seriousness, and they're going to go for another fast upper take. It worked very well the first time. It's looking like it's going in a similar direction. So clean on these entries, Molotovs forcing players back. In fact, there's a multitude of them up in heaven as well. Now, this is a smoke we see quite regularly that can work out for giving you an angle to try and get out. And they have a set flashbang as well, Vince.
They do, but this is where the smoke works against them, because right below them is Magix and they couldn't see him. They needed that first entry desperately, and now Joel is walking into the firing squad. And with 25 HP, decides that I don't actually have to die here. It's likely he will, but at least he gets one for his troubles. However, Spirit will now take the lead.
I love how, like, we see Idis balance, like, as close to lounging as you can get. Like, he looks so relaxed. I don't think I've ever seen anyone look so calm except for, like, maybe JDM and just, like, all the way back in his chair. And I still don't understand how that man could ever see the monitor. But I guess at least it's not Bondic, who I'm sure he's going to be blind by the age of 40 because of how close he sits to his monitor. It blows my mind.
It's unreal, isn't it? Like, some people a couple millimeters away from their screen, I'm just like, how are your eyes still working? Like, what is going on here? Misfire, one of the 2 rifles that they have in play, trying to put it down range in secret. Joel has the close angle, and Chopper may have thought about getting aggressive, but he only has 12 HP left, so he really cannot afford to do so. Instead, he will hold off, make sure that flowskola don't start to push through around secret. They have done this in the past. Joel with a deagle nearly punished them a few rounds prior. Mia getting outside of heaven, gets shut down from Magi. There's the other rifle they have in play, and now in come more CTs. Now Magix is going to get the freebie onto Chaucy, but his information has not been attained, and Nilo puts down some Die Young. It's another scrappy round that could be going the way of the Swedes.
That somehow Idis balance actually manages to convert that kill, and it's him and Magix. I'm not going to say it's impossible for them, and it's been a very peculiar round. Now, the problem is Idis balance has the bomb, and they're both coming in from that direction. The door is being covered by Magic, who's having to step directly into the open to try and hold on to this angle. But has managed to fall back onto the ramp. Doesn't win the duel versus Joel, though. There is no way Idisbalance wins this. 5 HP, needs instant headshots, and it isn't going to be happening. flowskola will take themselves a 6, but I do have to admit, this is... I think if you're analyzing this round, I almost want Blair to have to break this round down, or Vu, if he wants to give it a go, because the amount of map control that both teams managed to take from each other made absolutely no sense. Like, lobby control was there for the CTs, while heaven control was there for the Ts, which I don't really know how that happened, but it did.
My concern here, though, Tom, for flowskola is a lot of Spirit's lackings, shall we say, has been this... I would definitely go alongside what you were kind of highlighting there about them maybe not taking it as sort of serious if they're playing like a Na'Vi or a Vitality or somebody like that, playing a little bit more loose. When they move through onto the CT side, it's so much easier to attain a fairly standard default defense. I'm not sure that flowskola will be able to poke as many holes in that defense when the roles reverse, unless they can keep that economy down. Idisbalance, one of the first times we've seen him with the AWP on Nuke, has put it to use and takes down Misfire. Chauzy gets out aggressively, but gives his life away to Magic. And that will put the scales back in favor of Spirit just for a few more moments. What? And although Nilo's got one, Chopper just walks straight out and shuts him down in the back. And he'll be like, Magi, mate, help me out here, bro. What's going on? I have to hold A all alone? That's unreasonable.
You hold Mini, squeaky door, up, and I'm just gonna chill. Yeah, it doesn't work. Magi, though, maybe he's the retake specialist. He's that guy who's like, no, don't worry, I'm gonna win the retake, and that means I played well. And he does manage to get a couple of kills. The problem is the face-off is going to be versus Mir as well, who it doesn't normally lose these. He's got an afterplant situation and Joel needing to try and find him. He's just waiting outside. He literally hasn't budged. He's just waiting. All this utility. So many grenades being thrown out. And Mir's just like, yep, I'm just going to chill, waiting. Bomb's been tapped. Runs through the Molotov, though. And I think he's got it. He actually played it quite well in the end. That final incendiary does the job perfectly. And maybe Mir was a little bit too calm.
Yeah, but Joel played that pretty much flawlessly, honestly. Like, tapping the bomb, using each and every second at his disposal, not panicking, not trying to stick the bomb, knowing where Mir's position was, and knowing he didn't have enough time to get up to heaven either. And even if he did, the bomb wasn't planted for him. So he did a really good job there. Mir, a bit unfortunate he didn't have a smoke. If he could have put that Molotov out, it would have made Joel's life a lot more difficult. But that's all in the past. Now Spirit comes through with just a Tech 9 in the hands of Chopper and a Deagle and Idisbalance. There's a very real possibility that flowskola could be leading come the second half of Nuke.
Yeah, we've ended the half in a sort of weird state as well. Both teams not really having a particularly good economy. You can see that even Nilo here has to invest into an MP9, which is not that much of a burden. Quick push going to be coming back in, and he's burning. He's burning all the way down. They didn't have any sort of counter smoke. He was left so blind that he's cooked on the top of the hut. Mir with the spam through the smoke, looking for a bit of revenge for last round. And it's this upper hit once again. We've seen it a couple of times now where the change of pace is just something that flowskola can't really deal with. And, well, Spirit even decided towards the end of the round, okay, let's switch it up to B and just make sure that there's no way that he can get back into this site. It will be 7-all, scoreline equalized, and yeah, I'd love to say that I believe that they'll go onto the T side and take this home. And as said, I did want to see them start on the T side just to have that chance to sort of set the pace. The problem is, as we've sort of mentioned, like some of the plays we've seen from Spirit, like wrapping all the way around the outside, like players just walking through a few smokes here and there. I think if it genuinely got to a point where they were worried on the CT side, we're just going to see flowskola get obliterated.
Yeah, we have seen them towards the end here as Chauzy and Joel are trying to hold on to their weapons. Keep in mind that Spirit's economy isn't great still. You can see the impact this is going to have. Some players will have a lack of firepower or grenades. So it'll be interesting to see how they juggle these weapons around. But we did see a couple of rounds in a row now with more set play centered kind of plays come in. Also, some of the aggressive A hits they were going for were more stuttered, more stagnated. And so not just straight up rushing into, you know, misfires MP9 or good crossfires, but actually waiting it out and seeing what the response would be. So you're seeing this mix-up from Spirit. flowskola, though, take nothing away from them. They've been doing a good job of making the most of these mistakes and really creating some of their own chances. Speaking of which, Magi is getting through the smoke, hiding outside. Thing is, once that smoke clears, his position is so poor and he knows it. So he moves back out to red container, and Mia is always going to check that spot. First blood again goes the way of Spirit, who may just edge in the lead. And a shot from Joel connects onto Mia, but doesn't kill it.
Man, that's unlucky. And Spirit as well over the last few rounds have started to correct some of the mistakes they were making, in the sense of they're just waiting for aggression. They know that flowskola have been trying to take lobby control. We've now seen entries on that side a fair couple of times. Like, seems to be so close to finding the kills. Causey as well. 4 HP is all that remains, and 6 on Mir. The problem is Joel's AWP isn't really the best weapon for these remaining players. And he's not even going to hit the shot onto Idis balance. It is going to be a victory in the end for Spirit. 8-7 in their favor. We'll see if flowskola can turn this around in the second half.
Me and my crew, yeah, we're lawless. Got the man, them thinking that we're flawless. Yeah, mama told you that I'm gorgeous. Got a million tricks, can't deport us. I'm a flame in the star, call me gas. Back foot slide, I'm slick to the mask. Calling to the tribe, it's a revolution past. Present in time, no, we can't be masked. So you better rise up, size up, shout out loud. Now before the time's up, so we better rise up, size up, shout out loud. Now before the time's up. If we break bread, then I'm coming like a healer. If you want beef, then I tom beater. If you want beef, then I tom. 789, that's procedure. If we break bread, then I'm coming like a healer. If you want beef, then I tom beater. If you want beef, then I tom.
Wasn't always the most technical Counter-Strike in our first half of Nuke, but it was certainly entertaining. And now we get to see if flowskola can get a bit of revenge after losing the first map in such abrupt fashion. 8-7, though, Spirit will lead, and now through on the CT side, where we were maybe a little bit more concerned, Tom. It seems like flowskola, though, want to get aggressive. They want to get straight out. They walk into Mia, and a CZ in the hands of some Die Young. It's a massacre. Only Joel remains, but not for much longer.
It doesn't seem like pistol rounds are their strong suit. Like, I'll be honest, most of these pistol rounds have been incredibly one-sided. I don't know, did they take the... They did take the first one of this map, though, right? I think that was the first pistol round that they've actually managed to win, so...
Yeah, they did.
I guess that was a positive. That is also true. Maybe they'll do the same, you know? They didn't get a bomb plant, so of course they've got some deagles of their own. And that's the one thing I will say. Like, they've had some pretty impressive deagle rounds so far, so... You never know. Mia's going to be fighting, like, literally just peeking out into the open. At this point, no fear whatsoever. He's got his silenced M4 in hand, and it really just seems to be a race of who can get the kills.
Yeah, that's a pretty fair assessment. Which is even more sort of disgusting when you consider that flowskola actually did have a buy. Sure, it wasn't great, but it wasn't a full-on Glock eco either. So you've just been completely battered. Missed fire. Does actually miss out on that second chance at a deagle. The way he's been playing with it today, you kind of expect him to land that. But Spirit 10-7, flowskola will be into a save and a chance for Spirit to build up their economy, build up their ADR, and of course their round count on top of it.
I do wonder if his name is intentionally meant to sound like misfire, because it sounds like the idea of the two words he's used, like mist, it sounds like elusive, like it's almost like he's unknown, and fire, well, that almost speaks for itself. I don't know if he planned for his name to sound like he didn't shoot his gun properly.
Yeah, it's one of those unfortunate names, isn't it? Where like if he does whiff a couple shots, it like the joke says itself. You know, it just pretty much tells it all. They do have a couple of P250s. They have rushed straight into ramp. They find a chopper. He's happy enough just to hold them at arm's reach. Call to the rest of his teammates that they're making moves downstairs. Magix is already here. And, well, we've been over this ground a few times before, Tom. flowskola in trouble again.
Yeah, it's more of what I expected, but we haven't seen them with a proper buy. So I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm hoping we're going to see some aggressive fights taken in the next round, especially because they know that some of the weaponry is going to be a little bit weaker. Sometimes you can go for something a bit spicy. Although I say that, I disbalance straight away upgrades to his AWP. It doesn't look like they're actually going to go in with any sort of bonus round weapons at all. I think Spirit have just gone like, okay, you've had your fun. You got a few rounds versus us. Now we're going to show why we're the favorite in this tournament.
Yeah, playing to their own strengths as opposed to flowskola's potential weaknesses. And flowskola, though, do mix it up. They get aggressive straight through the Molotov, straight through the flames, and straight into Sun Da Young's face. He's gone down. Chopper now. Pressure mounting, swelling. He can't deal with it. Magic's next up to the plate, and he delivers home run with the M4. Surgical precision and using the smoke to his advantage. Also dropping the bomb down. They can't force the plant, but Mages cannot survive any longer. Well, Magix, I should say. Wrong player entirely. I knew it was going to happen eventually, and there you go. At least we got through 2 maps first. Mia has been tagged down to 20, but it is a post-plan.
Yeah, they're out. They've checked straight out of this one. There is enough money for them to buy into the next round if they don't lose too much here. Oh, no! Mouse wheel! Another victory for Spacebar Gang, and that's a free AWP if they want it. I will say, with how they played the last round, maybe not. Like, they were so aggressive. I like that, though, because I think one of the real traps that a lot of, like, younger teams and new teams sort of fall into is they go, oh, well, we can't do this against Spirit. Like, we'll just get shut down. But they've just gone, oh, you know, we've got nothing to lose. Let's just go for as an aggressive a push as we can. And, hey, it worked wonderfully. Like, sure, it was a little bit awkward in some of the mid-round positions. I tried to clear out the different players that kept jumping into the same spot. But they get the job done. 3 players surviving, and they save an AWP. So, yeah, win-win for flowskola.
Can slow it down now. iDisbalance had enough money to go for another AWP, however. But now all those saved pennies and cents have been expended. They have gone all in, their life savings depleted. iDisbalance getting up close aggressively with the AWP. Magix needs to survive to allow iDisbalance something to pivot off, but he's done just that. And with Chaucy being nullified, they have repelled the push through on the ramp side. However, they haven't contended with outside at all. Joel puts down Magix, and suddenly flowskola have the advantage.
It doesn't seem like it's going to stop any level of aggression coming out from this CT side, though. The push from Chopper all the way through the door. He's got to be careful. He doesn't get caught off by timing. It's Disbalance that eventually gets the trade, but will he now get caught? Magi being even further behind. The problem is he doesn't really want to be the one pushing. Bomb in hand, not worth the risk. And I think at this point, Team Spirit are probably just completely confused about where these remaining players are actually going.
But again, timing may come to their rescue. May afford them a bit of reprieve. MP9 not tailor-made for that range, so some Dayoung takes a little bit to take out Nilo. In the process, Magi returns the favor. 30 seconds, they're moving into Disbalance. They're moving into his layer where he can strike. He can hear footsteps. He knows exactly what's coming up. He just needs to deal with one of these two. Maybe drop the bomb down. He's missed out the first opportunity. The bomb's gone down to him, though. Oh, it's so brutal. And now with 20 seconds, Joel has to make moves. Disbalance has missed his shot, but can just play the time. He must know that Joel has to go for the kill. And in doing so, he overextends. And the grin from ear to ear, you can see how important that was for the Swedes.
Yeah, I was thinking, what was the plan for my Disbalance? Because I was like, oh, he could just go underneath. I was like, wait a minute, there's a big hole where the ladder goes through, so that's not going to work. And I think he almost had it as well. It was like, oh, no, I could just stand here. Nope, that's not anywhere near safer as what you thought it was. So, yeah, flowskola, they're going to win out the clutch situation. Again, very awkward, and now back to what they were doing before. Up against an eco, they group up, just pushed into this together. I like it. Just making sure that, well, the reality is it would have taken some crazy crossfire for them to take this one. Interested as to where Joel is going. You have an AWP. I get that this is an he's dead. He has to be dead. Oh, they haven't quite spotted him. This is horrible. Why is he here? Vince, why is he here? Why is he taking this fight? I don't understand.
I actually think he just did 500 IQ play. We'll get back to that in a moment, though, because it's Disbalance that's holding on firm and fast. Mia could very well save this AWP. I wonder if Joel knew who is dead and wanted to throw the AWP in a line of fire where his teammates could cover it from lobby. If so, that was actually really sick, realizing he was a dead man. Like, to have that clarity in all the chaos is so impressive. I may be giving him too much respect, though. Maybe it was just straight up panic. Like, oh God, I'm dead. Just throw all my weapons away. It's over.
Yeah, no, the thing I'm questioning is why he was there in the first place.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's just
like, that's mental. like if you know that your opponents are an eco, there's no reason to be there with an AWP.
Surely if you go out with an AWP, you want a tag team partner, right? Just to help you out.
Yeah,
you don't want to be there alone.
Yeah, somehow they almost lose the round. That's the most worrying thing. Like the fact that Disbalance hits some of the craziest shots we've seen all day just in a matter of seconds. He was the last person you wanted that AWP to go to. Now the smokes have already faded. Mir's in a pretty good position, although realistically there should be one kill and then he's dead. And oh, actually they don't really get the trade. He had a teammate, and Mir somehow manages to get out of there alive. That looked like he was dead to rights, almost for certain. Some Dayoung has got aggressive in the meantime. Now Chopper's there, and they're just taking this as almost some sort of firing range. But now they start to lose players, and actually it's an aim punch. Some Dayoung though. Oh, this would be probably my favorite play ever if he somehow makes this work. A 1 versus 3 with an XM. He's been spotted though, and it doesn't happen. Oh.
You can just hear Tom's soul leave his body as the XM does not come good. Yeah, it was an interesting crossfire, wasn't it? Because Disbalance was down on Secret and he drew out a bit of fire, but it was those constant peaks out from main. They got 2 or 3 in a row that went in favor of flowskola. And now not only is it 11-11 and the economy bad from Spirit, but their buy is awful too. There is a very real opportunity now for flowskola to grab Nuke and start to run towards the finish line with it. But look at that grenade damage outside. A tactical Nuke lands on 4 players, but fortunately for flowskola, they are still standing and their aim is true. Only 2 players remain. Some Dayoung does plenty of damage onto Joel, but 6 HP separates him from the grave. And our Chopper with a deagle is last man standing, but not for much longer. flowskola lead by 1.
Surely not, right? Surely not. We can't have our favorites like losing a map this early on in the tournament against a team of Swedish youngsters who not too long ago were playing in like the Doritos Open 2 Cup and didn't win. Like that's not allowed. That's not in the script. I know that Anders likes to break things in the simulation, but this would be a little bit too much. Also, he seems to want Swedish CS to make a comeback, which is a bit weird for a Dane, but you know, maybe this is just the first step on a long road.
That's a huge entry. They nearly line up Friday's balance to get 2, misses his second shot, but still alive to tell the tale. Molotov's firing past him, decides he's okay to lose a bit of damage. I don't think he was expecting 73 in total, though, for his troubles. And now Sundar Young, who's had a bit of a quiet game, continues to be silenced. Magi stomps down on him. Foot to the throat of Team Spirit. Again, a 4v3 retake. Grenade won't finish off Magi. And I think Spirit have to just pull the plug. flowskola will lead by 2 now.
This is a team that's like next week going to be playing DreamHack Masters, and they're currently struggling to beat flowskola in a map of Nuke. Like, come on, Spirit. I know, like, I love an underdog story. I'm British. We normally try and paint ourselves as the underdog, although I'm sure Blair will have many points to disagree with that factor. But yeah, this is ridiculous. Like 13-11, we're starting to see some whiffs as well, as you mentioned, Sunday on there. Like, should be getting a kill the round before where we had this sort of double up like crossfire spray. Again, we see some kills coming up for flowskola, who, don't get me wrong, are doing a fantastic job, but I expect better of Team Spirit. We've seen our disbalance start to have less and less impact as the rounds go on, and they're only 3 rounds away from losing not only a map, but their map. Which, wow, as said, the Nuke has got worse recently, but it was a map they like to play. If this happens, then maybe they shouldn't touch it for the rest of the tournament.
Oh yeah, this definitely doesn't breathe too much confidence. But it's also one of the reasons why DreamHack Open has so much magic around it. You see these teams that you ordinarily wouldn't get a chance to watch. I mean, at the end of the day, flowskola are ranked 105th in the world. They are so far down the pecking order, as opposed to Spirit, who is 16th and could very well be shooting towards the top 15 very shortly. Idisbalance, though, showing why he is one of the better AWPers on the planet. Straight into Nilo. Magix gets the freebie. Flash is good from Mia, and that's more like it from Spirit. Working together as a united force and bring that deficit back down to 1. flowskola, though, have tons of money. They can easily go in for another buy.
Yeah, definitely better from Spirit. It still took Magix getting a double kill to stop them actually getting into the ramp, but, well, it's something we've come to expect from him, even if he is still one of the youngsters. I guess in this server, not so much, but, well, it's not usual that you have a couple of 15-year-olds entering the server. They go for this fast take once again, and, well, I appreciate the goal to go for it, but this time Team Spirit were more than ready. Had a multitude of players on the site and already leaving it onto just 2, Nilo and Chauzy. To try and turn this back, even if they get a bomb plant here, that might be a small victory just to make sure that the economy is as good as it can be for the next couple of rounds. Instead, though, looks like they're going to try and find some sort of hole in the defense and maybe catch someone off guard.
Yeah, I wonder if they've kind of fell into the trap of a lot of false positives here on this A rush. Like they've had a lot of success with it, but when you look at the context of the success they've had, it doesn't paint as good a picture as it looks like this round is about to come to an abrupt end. Chopper has to reload. That could cost him his life, but gets at least 1 before he falls. Chauzy battling against the recoil low and has been finished off. Their first round they won with it was against Team Spirit, who actually upgraded from their bonus up into basically the full purchase and got completely caught off guard, didn't have enough grenades. And then the round after that, when they went for it again, it was basically against USPs and a couple of Deagles. So now that Spirit have their full buy, I wonder if flowskola are telegraphing this play maybe a little bit too much.
They have bought a Mac 10 though, which to me that either says they're going to go for it again or they're going to go ramp. I wouldn't want to see that go anywhere else, and they aren't. It looks like they've initially, at least, and Chopper's been caught trying to go down the vent. Misfire with a tasty little spray down. It does, in fact, seem like they're edging in the direction of ramp as well, knowing that there's a severe reliance on Magix to do a lot of work here. He does, however, normally do quite well in these sort of situations. He's going to fall back, at least initially, though. And as they jump over, he's going to have the chance to at least take one for free, even things back up. Again, for someone so young, he seems to play so intelligently, but he will eventually be caught along with some Die Young. Again, this man seems to fall without much impact at all. A 2v4, that should be a save.
They have the money to justify going for it, but I think it's more about the bigger picture. So they will be tapping out. You can see they have more than enough money to buy, regardless of whether Idis Balance and Mia survive. But considering that we are going the distance, you want to make sure you have all your pennies and dollars allocated and available. flowskola, though, successful, and it really does come off the back of that spray through the smoke onto effectively Chopper, who is trying to vent dive. That's a multi-purpose spray. It can deal with the players in main that try and peek out. It even goes towards the garage area if you spray through the vents. It was just unlucky for Chopper. But Magix, who's typically so good in ramp, was basically alone. You saw in the previous round, he had Mia tossing the pop flash, and it completely wrecked flowskola's push. This time, Mia had to draw away because they lost that first player, and that's why Magix basically gave it up straight away and just was effectively in a 1v4. So flowskola, well played. 14-13, a very real chance at winning this map still.
And I like that adaptation as well. Like I said it in the last round. Like it took Magix getting a multi-kill for them to hold on to the ramp. So what do? They pressure the ramp. They start putting pressure on the players around this A site as well to hold them in, to stop them rotating and giving that player less of a chance of surviving. Still, though, you can see Spirit definitely wary of these smokes, worried that maybe someone's going to attempt something towards ramp. And interestingly, they've actually switched their setup. They've gone, okay, you want to pressure ramp? We're going to send the big gun, the big green, over here to try and deny you. Mir as well has found way too much information. They haven't challenged outside the last few rounds, so he's going to start pushing all the way around the flank. This round should be over. He's trying to line up 3 kills. He's going to get 2 for sure. Could just even fall back, but maybe gets a little bit greedy. And actually, Chopper goes down through the smoke straight after. I have no idea how he gets that second kill.
It's just sick game sense. Because of that aggression, they assume that they're going to get pushed from Squeaky. So Chauzy takes the kill, instantly 180, sprays preemptively through the smoke, and Chopper, for the second time running, gets smacked through it in the head. Very well played from Chauzy, but they still trail by a player. Idis Balance perched up in heaven. You fancy him to get at least one of these 2 plays. He doesn't miss often, but he has missed on this turn, and he gets punished for it. And he saw his reaction, head in hand. Now needs some Die Young and Magix to dig him out of this ditch that they put themselves in, and he's burying them ever so quickly, but Magix will hold the line again, and Idis Balance should be thanking Magix there, because that peek into miss nearly cost them everything.
Ed, it's not been anything like the first map. Like the first map, he was styling on them. The whole team were just having fun, almost just messing around. And let's be real. Look at how this round started. That should have been over from the get-go. They get the initial frag, and then also Mir manages to come in from behind and get a multi-frag. And somehow that comes down to a 1 versus 1. Like, these are sort of rounds that Team Spirit should be taking easily, making money, building up their economy. Instead, flowskola are managing to take this very, very close. 14-14. It'd be heartbreaking, to be honest, if they didn't manage to get this over the line. But at this point, it's still a very possible outcome, because Spirit, I think they're going to know that, okay, this is something we can't really afford to slip up on.
Oh yeah, now they are full-on try-hard sweaty mode. But Mia, he's been sussed out. He's been punished, and Idis Balance is missing. More shots are expecting to land, but they line up for Chopper. He nearly sprays multiple down. A lot of damage to Magi. If Idis Balance overextends, the chance he gets shut down in the back. There is a player outside there, just behind him. Bomb plant, though, does make the most of it, but this is where you're expecting him to get closed off. In actual fact, I was wrong. My apologies. It was Nilo that I thought was behind him, was actually on the vent. And now he's walked out into the open. He gets picked off before some Die Young sprays into the head of Mistfire. And it seems, although Spirit have been far from their best, they may still get this done yet. flowskola's last round economy in dire straits.
I think you were right. I think Joel might have... Yeah, there you go. You were right.
Oh.
If some Die Young saves the day. Like, if it wasn't for that kill, then they're screwed because Joel would have been behind I Disbalance. The thing is, I don't know what he was looking at there. Because if you're not looking at Secret for the rotation, where are you looking? Like, no one else can see you. So the position's fantastic, but unfortunately the execution doesn't quite go their way. And now, this is something I've never thought I'd have to utter in my entire existence. We have a 5 Galil buy, and I want to vomit.
It doesn't give you as much run and gun ability, but there is a chance Disbalance could land one of these. He's missed both. Tom, I honestly feel that a lot of days he connects both of those shots.
There's a gap in the smoke. That's why they're jumping. He's just gone down as well. What? Oh my goodness. I Disbalance. Like, he's still top, by the way. But just the last 2 rounds, he's been having an absolute mare. Luckily, his teammates have stepped up, but Joel comes in with 2. We could be seeing our first overtime of the tournament. There's 2 players standing in their way, however. Magic's, he's been decent in these clutch situations. The wraparound coming in once again, but I like this from flowskola. They're being patient. They're not just rushing to get the bomb down. They're looking for these players, hunting to try and find what direction they're coming from, clearing out the site methodically, even gaining heaven control. So they're going to make this retake very, very difficult. The only thing will be is if the timing goes well. And in fact, they have managed to get into the site fairly easily.
Oh, Chopper does get the pick, but he's lost a lot of health in the process. He gets dinked down to 9 HP. 1 bullet from either of these Galils will basically finish him off, and there it is. Chawsy spins around for 2. We head to overtime. flowskola making this way too close for comfort on Spirit.
Oh, either way, we'll be back.
Do not adjust your monitor or TV. That is the correct score. 15-15. Who would have thought it after the 16-2 demolition job that Spirit put on flowskola? We had players like Idis Balance over a 2 rating. But here we go. The Swedes have made them work for every single scrap on Nuke, Tom. It's been a lot of entertainment, some head-scratching moments, and now Spirit taking some aggression outside and taking a bit of damage for it as well.
Oh, it's finally started to connect the shot. Young, though, is also down to 7 HP, and it's still a fight for Idis Balance. He takes the risk, and it seems like everything's going wrong in a matter of seconds for the CT side. 2 players lost. Mir is going to be there to get the trade at least. And instantly starts his rotation down. He realizes that secret control has been lost. There's going to be 2 players here. A trade is really all the T's need to give them a path on towards this B site. And actually, Magi, he's still lurking behind. Now, the Molotov his teammates just thrown, at the moment at least, only denies him. But because they've managed to get the A site, the bomb's going walking back up. The question is, Vince, is the door open for Chopper? It is. This could be a big problem.
Yeah, it could be brutal. This next couple of seconds could determine everything, and it's Chopper that comes out for 1. Does get traded back, though. Magi makes sure he will not live to tell the tale. And now darts down the vent to go for the plant on B. Has a molly and 2 flashes. Keep in mind, no smoke for Magix. These are the kind of little victories, little advantages that can start to catch up. No smoke to be found on any of these corpses. Don't want to trade up to the AK to give his position away either. And Magi using the shadow spot for the post plant. There's no molly for Magix either. It's not like he can just Under Armour smoke onto the bomb, tap it, and draw Magi out either. So this is going to have to come down to Magix guessing correctly. There's not much time left. This should be Magi with every second that counts. It's a countdown to extinction for Spirit, surely. Molotov down onto the site, and flowskola finish off what they start. They claim first blood in overtime.
Yeah, the Rainbow Potatoes take the lead versus the Dragons of Spirit. It's a matchup that, again, even if you look at the different logos, you would think that one of them should be dominating this match, but it's just not happening. And flowskola have proven that Nuke is clearly a map to fear them on. Maybe take the veto in another direction next time, Spirit, because this is going very badly wrong. Aggression from Chopper, though. He's had enough. He just takes it into his own hands. 2 quick kills. Bomb dropped, but Chauzy, he waits patiently. Chopper's trying to do it all. He's having to do it all because 2 of his teammates have achieved absolutely nothing. The switch up comes in, but Young, he's not going to miss that shot. And now Magi, well, a slightly tougher situation this time.
He has the same assortment of utility, but a very different situation and scenario is playing out ahead of him. Did a great job in the last round. First hurdle he needs to navigate over is a bomb plant. Doesn't want to force this down. Has no idea as to where these CTs currently reside. Chopper was last spotted in main going aggressively. Magi has no idea where he is. Obviously, we have the benefit of knowing that he's dropped down into vents. His 2 teammates are wrapping around in hut. As long as they stick together, this should be a foregone conclusion for closing the dream of a potential second map outright. And just as Magi steps forward and literally moves forward in his cherry, gets peaked. Unfortunate timing. Not that it really matters that much, Tom. The chance of him closing that out was so very low. And Spirit makes sure that flowskola don't put any daylight between the 2 of them.
Yeah, I think it has to be mentioned that what Chopper did in that round was straight BS, and how he managed to get 3 kills. Like, because he peaks him for 2, and I'm like, okay, well, that was already ridiculous. But even with, I think he had like 16 HP, he then gets a 3rd kill, which pretty much nails the round. And although there was a big play coming out from Chauzy to turn the tide back, it just wasn't quite enough. Again, we get a bit of life out of this side, and Chopper, I think maybe he's realized now that, okay, I've got to start remembering who I am, but he clips the Molotov. And yeah, that's an easy kill straight back. It seems to be the response every single time. Like, they get an opener, they make a decent play, and then they overextend.
And then no one watches main, and Magi just gets the freest kill of his life. He can't quite double up, don't connect the dots. Young, who had a very silent portion of the first few rounds of the second half is now awakening from his slumber, and him alongside Mia put the first half of overtime to rest. It will be Spirit leading, but by the narrowest of margins.
Yeah, these are rounds as well where I'm not particularly impressed with how Spirit are actually playing them. Like, they are very much based on individual brilliance. Like, that round, Some Young, the round before was Chopper. Like, Chopper gets a kill, then overextends. And the thing is, you know you've clipped that Molotov as well. So you know that they know you're coming. So to continue to push that, slightly mental. Then you mention it as well. Nobody watches outside. 2 players on the site. Just lucky not to get caught off. A bit of trigger control. We could have seen flowskola easily taking that position. Now they go on to their CT side. Now, if I'm being honest, I was more impressed with the T side from flowskola. They were decent on the CT side, but they gave up an awful lot of map control. And if that happens again, I imagine Spirit should just be able to dominate this. But I've said that throughout this match, so who knows?
Yeah, there's a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas, and it doesn't seem to be coming into fruition. It's Joel's turn now to miss the shots outside. Magi up close against Chopper, who has been rejuvenated. Will now need to be resuscitated if they are to win this round, it feels like. Shawzy's also doing a great job of holding down ramp. Does have a second player there to help him out, which is Joel. But Mia has wiggled his way into main. Does have a clear line of sight towards the back of the silo. Gonna be calling this out for his teammates. Joined by Idis Balance. They're clumped up together. Mistfire alongside Nilo maybe can lock this down. Will Mistfire get checked? Mia slowly edging his way round the corner, takes his head clean off, and now Nilo's position loses a little bit of its power. Smoke down, HE toss to the back of the site will bank off the wall, but it's just scraping Some Young's elbow. Nothing too serious before Joel comes in with the upshot. Flashbang up and over. Banks off the wall. Here comes Mia for another one. Still alive. Still kicking. And has Some Young alongside him. And it looks like it could be a 2v4 coming into fruition. Unless the youngster of Joel can pull it off. Typically their primary AWP, but switched up to the automatic M4 to try and give him the ability to spray them both down. Molotov doesn't really do anything, and he gets caught out in the open, and our Spirit have 2 match points.
Yeah, Mir giving us a taste of what we know that this man can do. Like, probably the star player, if you consider it that, when it comes to this Team Spirit roster. And that's now 3 back-to-back rounds they've won in overtime that have been off individual brilliance. Because again, it didn't start well. Like a great start for flowskola, but unfortunately they let that one slip away. And now they're up against Map and Series Point. It's the position we expected, definitely not the manner of which. And now for Spirit, well, I guess all can be forgiven, but I still think we're going to go forward in this tournament with a bit of a question mark over the top of them. If they even slip up slightly from this point onwards, it could all be falling down. Magi, quite an aggressive position here. The smokes have faded. He gets a free kill onto Idis Balance. Reaction's going to be there, and Mir catches a player reloading, but Mistfire with the repeat has given them back that advantage once again.
Blow for blow, but flowskola just narrowly in the lead, and they have a bit of lobby control. A bit of information is forthcoming. The bomb carrier of Magic's off alone in Garage, needs some help. He does have a player just below him in secret, but they are somewhat isolated from Some Young, who's still watching lobby. So I'm not sure if the idea is to try and wrap with Some Young through maybe a Squeaky to get down vents. It doesn't really matter as a bullet connects between his eyes. This will bring Spirit into a bit of action downstairs. They picked up a very similar situation in the last round, but that was post-plant, where some of the chips were falling in their favor. B-site is, by and large, uncontested from flowskola. Happy enough to just give this one up, all playing on the upper side. Now Magic's realizing it, will go for the full plant and should get it done. All of flowskola coming through ramp alone. It's one-dimensional. Chopper gets singed by the Molotov again, which will be clearing away in a few moments, but takes down one, goes back in for more. All falls down to Magix, who's picked up 1 kill of his own, but there were too many bodies to go up against them. Flowskola's one-dimensional retake has proved to be the correct decision.
I'll be honest right now. If you going into overtime, if you take away all the nameplates, the beautiful rainbow potato, and like what, basically everything to do with the two teams, the cams, everything, and you ask me which team is which, I'm saying that Team Spirit are flowskola at this point. They have played better as a team. Like it's just the individuals on Team Spirit that have been able to drag them through, and in this round it just wasn't the case because they're losing so much map control. Like it wasn't even that late into the round. I think it was about a minute in. flowskola had the full lobby on lock with multiple players just holding that angle, catching off players as they go. It's a weird one. I almost feel like if Team Spirit just play a default round and are just a bit more patient, they probably win. Because that's what the Swedes have been doing, just taking map control, forcing them into awkward positions. This time they're finally going to battle for the ramp, which is where we've seen a lot of the pushes. But then there's that double up. Two players quickly rotate, and that's the bomb on the deck. The first man through drops the bomb into their favor. Now they just have to stack up here, and we could be going to OT too.
It's looking likely, but Nilo, who was looking for a bit of information, was too overextended. Could have just been shoulder peeking that instead. And Chopper, he's made a move around the back of them. They will never expect this. There's 1 and 2, and that could be the round and match-winning moment. Chopper has put Misfire into a 1-on-3. Scratching his head, wondering how the hell they got into this position, but he's not done just yet. Through the smoke, he perforates some Die Young, looking to riddle these last two players. The question, and bullets, but he comes out slightly behind in the last of the three. It's so close. You can see how devastated he is, but they've got it done, Tom. That's going to be a bitter pill to swallow for flowskola, but Spirit, they do win it 2-0.
Yeah, obviously this is a map that we expected Spirit to win, but this was not a good performance. Well, you could even see it on my face. Just a little bit of disgust. Like, Spirit didn't look good. I think they played very loose, which, you know, is fair enough. But in all honesty, flowskola impressed far more than I ever expected them to after that first map.
Yeah, you've got to give flowskola a lot of credit here. I don't want to just rag on Spirit and say they didn't perform like we expected. flowskola came here and they pressured them. They almost created their own misfortune in that sense for Spirit by pressuring them and making them sweat a little bit. After, let's be honest, a bloodbath on Mirage. Who would have seen it going to overtime after that horrific first map?
Yeah, for sure. Either way, we do have a desk to break this one down. They've got plenty of rounds to go through, which is a bit of a surprise. So join Frankie in the desk after a short break.
Welcome back to the DreamHack Open November. My name is Frankie Ward. And kids, this ain't my first rodeo. This is not my first DreamHack Open, and here's how it usually goes. Obviously, our opening matchups in Group A and B are the strongest team versus the bottom seed, and usually that bottom seed has come from a regional qualifier. In this case, flowskola, they came from a local Swedish qualifier. They are a mixed team. They've got 3 school kids on their team, and yet, rather than another 16-2 performance, which again is very, very normal for these DreamHack Open opening matchups, they actually nearly took that map. It looked very, very scary indeed for Spirit. So you know what, Blair? Given that you weren't too impressed with flowskola on Mirage, tell me what you liked about them on Nuke.
A lot of things. Look, the very evident fact is Spirit were not playing close to the level we expected them to play at. However, credit to the Swedes, they took advantage of it. They were taking fights, they were taking duels. In fact, out-dueling a lot of these star players on the side of the CIS team, which is something which we didn't see on Mirage. Again, there wasn't too much of variety from them in so many rounds, but they just kept rushing that upper bomb side on the T side. That's something which they usually kept doing the previous games of theirs on Nuke, which we saw in the demos and whatnot. But yeah, kudos to them taking the overtime, especially having the mental resilience to win some of those clutches, especially against a team like Spirit. Kudos to them. They lost the map, but I feel like in their minds, it's kind of a win.
And Vu, you were quite incensed by the rotations from Spirit. I think something that exemplifies it the most is Chopper on Hut, and he decides he's going to rotate through vents at the start of the round through a smoke that wasn't even his own and misfire. It was easy pickings for him.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they were getting desperate at some point as the favorite, right? They were doubling up ramp, doubling up outer, peeking over smokes, pushing through smokes. I couldn't tell if they were desperate or they were just disrespecting their opponents. But, by the end of the game, they just kept getting picked off by these weird little kind of off plays that flowskola was making, just catching them and winning gunfights time after time. And you saw it again a couple of rounds later. They just completely abandoned outer, walk in through mini from flowskola, get a couple. It's just, I'm confused as to how that ends up happening.
Now, do you think there was much thought behind the stacking, the doubling up of certain positions on Nuke? There was one in particular that I was curious about, was Magic's getting back up from iDisbalance quite early in their CT side in ramp room. And I was like, why did they need that? It seems so unnecessary because it basically gifted outside to flowskola.
I think there were a lot of moments like that, right? Like we just mentioned, right? They're taking too many chances, too many proactive plays where they don't really need to. They are the favorites over here. They were playing like they were being pressured, which is so surprising. And when they're going for these plays, they're walking into the rifles from the side of the Swedes, and it was just working in their favor. So a lot of mistakes being made by Spirit. I'm not going to be being soft on them in respect to that. But however, at the same time, the fact that the Swedes were able to still manage to punish them for that, that's what impressed me the most. I'll be real. I thought it was going to be a stomp. Nuke getting picked by Spirit, I felt like it would be kind of a statement from the CIS team that they're just the better team, doesn't matter what map it was. But flowskola clearly showing that Nuke is the map they like playing on. They're not the best on it, but they do seem to find some level of comfort.
Vu, Spirit, they're a CIS team. They should be used to a little bit of madness, a little bit of crazy aggression, and they didn't handle it at all well. Do you think now that Magic's, I guess, prediction that they would snowball their way through the DreamHack Open to the win and then do the same in DreamHack Masters, do you think that's going to come true?
Well, Magic's he was trying to be a bit tentative with that one. He goes, we'll use this as a warm up, and maybe that was a bit of a warm up because they clearly didn't look super warm in that game. They looked like they were a little bit off. So maybe he was calling it right.
Well, let's speak to Sum Young because he's just rang our doorbell. Victor, welcome to the DreamHack Open. First of all, I do want to ask you how you approached the matchup today because there's not much to go by from flowskola and there's so much Counter-Strike at the moment. You're a busy team, so did you put much effort into preparing for this matchup?
Hello, guys. Hello, Frankie. No, we was like practicing and doing our normal things in the game, and that's all. We didn't have any special preparation for flowskola.
I do have a quick question with regards to the Nuke pick coming in, right? I mean, I know you haven't prepared much, but you should probably be aware that flowskola do like playing Nuke and Dust 2 quite often. So considering you have Train, Overpass, any map you could have picked, but you went with Nuke, which is a map you don't necessarily play that often or you're not very comfortable on. Any thought behind that?
Yeah, because we need to practice more on the Nuke. That's why we pick it. We just need 2 more official games on Nuke.
All right.
So with Nuke, were you trying to change up the play style there and try out new things early on, or was that just game plan as usual?
We tried some new things, but that was most solo plays, maybe duo plays, nothing special like that. Maybe that's why we lost a lot of duels and things like that and get to the score in overtimes.
Victor, we had a chat the other day. I won't say who else was involved because that's a surprise for DreamHack Masters Winter. But you mentioned that sometimes iDisbalance holds back instead of going aggressive when maybe he could be making a bit more space. Was that what he was trying to do today, take more risks on Nuke? Because sometimes he lost duels that he really shouldn't have on the CT side.
Actually, I don't know for sure. I need to watch a demo before, then I can say it. But I think he was pretty aggressive this game, and maybe that's duel that he need to. Maybe not. I don't actually know for now.
All right, then we will see you tomorrow playing in the Group A winners matchup. Thank you so much for talking to us, Sum Young.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
I was getting my Russian and Portuguese mixed up then. I was going to say obrigado instead of spasibo. But spasibo to Victor and the boys from Spirit, and congratulations, you are through to tomorrow. We do have an elimination match at the end of the day, though, and we'll see flowskola playing again then. But to be honest, they've got some things to be proud of there. They certainly held their own, and they managed to bring things back on Nuke. So we will see them in that lower bracket matchup. But who is going to be joining them? Is it going to be Apex? Is it going to be AGF? Well, we are going to go to a short break, I believe, and then when we come back, we're going to have a discussion as to what we think. Oh, it's not a short break. It's a very long